At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, everybody. It is Tuesday, July 11th. Welcome. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll probably repeat that a couple times throughout this show, as many of you are very well aware, right? Got to get out got to make everyone aware. You got to like, share, and subscribe. All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Yo. What's going on? You guys enjoying the weather? It actually wasn't flaming hot in Springdale today in most of Northwest Arkansas. I think it was like 85 last I looked. That's not too bad, man. I mean, you know, we want to complain so often about how warm things are and how hot things are, rightfully so. Because we do tend to cook in the state of Arkansas. We cook. We don't get that dry, like, West Oklahoma into Texas kind of weather. You know, the dry heat. We get that humidity that like sticks to your lungs when you breathe in. I have a friend of mine who actually just moved to Colorado, her and her family, and she's like, she's really weird about how she uses her central heating and air, right? She's really weird. She will not run her AC. She's got window units. That's what it is. She's got like 2 window units. She doesn't even turn them on. She's like, I lived in Arkansas. I can handle 80 degrees in the house. For me, I don't care if it's humid or not. 80 degrees is pushing it, man. That's way too. Well, that's just it. That's too much. All right. We've got recruiting. That's what we have on this. Got some good stuff coming up. Patreon supporters are already fully aware of what's happening. They're already up to date. Now, I'm trying to find all my, here we go. Look at you. I see you, John Haas. I see you out there liking and sharing and retweeting. And well, I can't see if you're liking the video, but I can see that you're sharing. Appreciate you, man. Sharing is caring after all. It is. All right. So I hope you guys so far have had a good week. So far, we're only into Tuesday, July 11th. We're going to get through this together. The next show will probably be on Friday. Or I may put out 2 more pieces of edited content this week. I'm not entirely sure just yet. We have a busy week in this house. We have some stuff being installed, some stuff being ripped out of our bathrooms. I do have a special announcement, and we will get to Patreon supporters and sponsors here in a little bit. I do have a special announcement. We are full go. I repeat, we are full go to start getting the studio set up in the garage. We have the race has begun. So over the course of the next, 2 to 3 weeks, the shows are already random in the month of July. In August, they're going to be mostly random until we get closer to week 1 for college football, for Arkansas, getting ready for their week 1 opponent. Obviously, by then, we're going to try and go back to some kind of a schedule. But it's going to be even more crazy, and some of the content may be thinner. We may not have thinner. I am the opposite of that. But the content itself may be – we might have bizarre live times. There may not be a live show. We may just have edited content. There might be a week where there's only 1 or 2 things dropped all week. It's just going to be busy over the course of the next 2-3 weeks. I just want to give you guys a heads up. It's probably going to take 3 weeks. I want to say, since we're getting into the sponsors, shout out to Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. They are supplying me with my new garage door. and it's going to be 2 inches thick steel. I guess it's like it's going to have nothing's completely soundproof unless you're in like a soundproof room, but it's going to help with the sound in and out of the studio. We're going to get a big ass rug to help absorb the sound. We've got a lot going on, and it's going to take some time. It's going to take a little bit of moolah. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to take some money, so that's kind of why this is taking so long. But we are very thankful to our sponsors. Again, Direct Service Overhead, who's going to supply us with the door. And, of course, Patreon supporters. Just know I've already started buying some equipment. I'm doing that with the money that I get from sponsorships and that I get from Patreon. So I do appreciate you guys. Really excited. Really excited about all that. Okay, so Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. They offer same-day services, quality parts, and affordable outcomes. Hundreds of 5-star reviews, affordable outcomes, better than best results. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. And yes, I do plan on, I'm probably going to do a little bit of filming. I'm going to give you guys a better view of the studio room, what this studio room looks like. It ain't much. And I'm going to show, once we get the door and everything, maybe even before that, I'm going to try and just give you guys an idea with the space that we're working with. I mean, it's a typical garage, yes, but it's going to slowly over time get turned into something a little bit different. Again, I'm really excited about all that. Also, the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria, they're a sponsor as well, located on Emma Street here in Springdale. Fantastic pies, great environment. If you go, tell them Ty sent you. That's not guaranteeing a discount, by the way. Just tell them Ty sent you. I'm sure they would appreciate it. All right. So let me know how you guys are doing. I know those of you who are watching this after the fact, I hope you're doing well also. Good to see you, Ty. I'd share for you, but if I shared to my social media, I think less people would see. This is what I don't like about social media. Like I hate social media. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Unfortunately for what I do, I have to be on social media. And it's a weird position too, because neither of my girls are going to be on social media until they're 18. In fact, I'm going to do everything I can to keep them off of anything social on their. We're trying. We're not doing very. We did ban Roblox from their phones, or from their phone, not plural. There's only one. Our oldest kid has the phone. But I don't want social media to be a thing. I hate social media, but I have to do it. I have to be there. I've got to be in those spaces. I've got to share across Facebook and Twitter. I guess now we have Threads. I just heard about this like a couple of days ago. I guess Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook now has this thing called Threads. It's like a Twitter. I've not even looked into it. That's how much I despise social media. I haven't even began to look into all that. I'm supposed to. Yeah, I probably should be on Instagram. And I do want to give you guys a heads up. I am going to create a Facebook. As much as I hate that place, there will be a Tuss Talk Facebook. I'm hoping to have that up maybe before the end of the month. Who knows? Maybe before the end of the week. I'll give you guys a heads up, though. I would really appreciate it if that page does go up on Facebook, that you guys, follow it. Who needs the whole hog studio? We want to see a hog hole studio. Steven, have you been hitting the sauce, sir? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I think we get the running back DB this week. This is Grant Toynton. Am I pronouncing that right? Grant, welcome. Social media is definitely a viable modern advertising space. Well, you have to, right? You have to advertise there. Zuckerberg said, release the Kraken. Yeah. Elon Musk is probably pissed, I'm sure. That is very problematic for Twitter. You never heard a hog pen called a hog hole? No, I haven't. I have not. I've never heard of anything called a hog hole. We do have some news. I'm not going to get into the baseball stuff. Oh, shout out to July Souter also for retweeting. Celtics for Life retweeting Appreciate you guys on Twitter. We have baseball recruiting, or not recruiting, baseball draft news, but I haven't really kept up with it hardcore yet. I was going to wait until we have more information. I think the draft just concluded, right? Is it still going on? So I'm going to wait. I know there have been some prospects that Arkansas was in on, the kids that were committed that have gone, that have been drafted. When you recruit at the level that Dave Inhorn does, this is another one of those challenges that college baseball has. You know, like you have a pretty good idea once a kid signs most of the time. You have a pretty good idea of what they're going to do, right? Like, okay, well, he signed. The odds are, it's not always the case, he's going to be on campus. We're going to have him for the upcoming season. Baseball, it's not that way. You know, they get drafted. They can choose to take their draft selection, to take their spot, or to come back, whatever. Baseball, MLB rules are just so stupid. They're so silly. I really do think, and I don't blame any kid for, listen, man, you're going to take the bag. Of course you are. Of course you're going to take the bag. Why wouldn't you? Any 17, 18-year-old kid would. It's hard to pass up. It's hard to pass up that kind of money. And yeah, there's some NIL out there for the big time prospects, but those prospects, you're probably not going to compete with the MLB. And then you're going to spend 2, 3, 4 years in the minors, in the farm leagues. And it's hard for me to get super excited for Major League Baseball, for draft. Oh, okay, cool. This guy's going to spend probably the next several years in the minors. Cool. We'll see if they'll call him up in the next couple of years. And that happens, right? It does. It just sucks because from the college, from the standpoint of the universities, of the schools, you recruit these kids and you spend however long. That's why transfer portal, we've already seen the impact that it's had in college baseball. We know it's had a huge impact on basketball. I'd say it's had the biggest effect in college basketball. It's had a huge effect in football, and I think baseball is obviously – all three of the major sports have been affected. But I think it's going to become even more and more – I think you're going to get these coaches that just have a reputation. They're going to have their staff aligned with how the portal works. That's how they're going to manage their staff. They're going to bring guys onto their hitting coach, their pitching coach, all the other assistants that are allowed. Now, of course, we have a change in rules and who can get paid and whatnot. But you're going to have – well, and I don't know who this boils down to. I'm assuming it's just going to come down to the hitting and the pitching coaches. But you're going to have people that's going to be their line. That's all they're going to do. They're going to concentrate on either it's going to be recruiting and out prospecting these high school players in the hopes that you can get them on campus. We know a freshman player can have a larger impact on a baseball team than a rookie can, or a 1-year player or first-year player in the minors. Whatever, single A, double A, triple A, can have a much bigger impact on a college team. At least I think so, because the level of competition isn't that high compared to a minor league team, depending on what A category you're in, right? But that's how these staffs are going to be managed, I think. I think they're, Dave Van Horn is probably, we know he's going to set aside room for transfers. And this is one of the reasons why you don't know what the hell you're getting. And listen, transfers can do it too. You've seen transfers do it. Transfers can also sign. It's the same thing, but it seems like a transfer is more likely. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But it seems like a transfer is more likely to actually make it to campus and play than a top 150 high school baseball prospect. Right? I mean, all of Arkansas, it seems like they got pretty well hit. They got hit pretty hard in the draft with their high school kids. You guys know I don't follow high school baseball recruiting hardcore. I don't really follow the portal unless it's like a big time player. But just based on, again, I'm not claiming to be the most knowledgeable on this subject, because I'm certainly not. But it seems for me like That's the angle. That's going to be the position that these coaches take. They're going to either have a guy set aside specifically who's going to recruit these older players that are in the portal, and then you're going to have this other part of your staff that's going to focus on the high school recruiting. But high school recruiting, though, you spend all this time recruiting a prospect from the time they're probably juniors or sophomores, the really good players, sophomores, juniors, into their senior season. You're going to spend all this time, and then when they get really good and all of a sudden they get this high perfect game score, you don't know if you're going to get them on campus. I mean, it just seems like such a waste of time. If I were putting a staff together, again, based on my limited knowledge, I feel like I would be like, to hell with this. I'll get some of those mid-grade kids if I can sign some mid-grade kid, and I'm going to go after the big-time transfers. Now, the other part of the transfer portal that's challenging, I wouldn't completely abandon high school recruiting. It just seems like that's the angle now. Why spend all this time and money and energy on a high school prospect? Now, there is a difference. Dave Van Horn can actually get these kids on campus. We've seen him do that. Even some of the kids that get high draft grades, we've seen him get them on campus. So Dave Van Horn and some other coaches in the SEC, I guess, are the exception to the rule. But it does seem like for most other schools, that's kind of what I have in my head. I'm not thinking about Arkansas. Arkansas can just kind of bring on whoever the hell they want some of the time, more than others, right? I don't know. High school baseball recruiting is just – that's why I don't really follow it. I'll be honest. It's why I don't follow it. It's why I'm looking for people in Discord like, hey, do you keep up with high school baseball recruiting? DM me what you know, right? Some of you have seen me do that. It just seems like such a wasted time, man, when these kids decide to go pro. All that time and energy. And think of the money spent flying or traveling to their school to watch them. You're scouting them. You're talking to coaches. You're spending all this energy, and then they go pro. But I'm sure too, Dave knows. He's been in the business for 2 decades, actually more than 2 decades. What, like 30 years, right? When he got into coaching, like 30 years ago, he knows what's up. It's even crazier now. I kind of thought with the NIL though they would have a better shot. And I don't know what kind of impact the NIL is actually having on baseball. That'd be a great conversation to have with someone like Dudley Dawson. Like, what kind of impact is NIL actually having on these prospects and on kids out of the portal? Like, are they benefiting? Are you driving down the road and you see a giant sign that's got Caleb Cali on the logo? You know, he's marketing for some company, or he's the spokesperson for some company. Are you seeing baseball players? Come to think of it, I'm not really seeing anybody. Are you guys? Are you seeing KJ on any billboards anywhere? Because I'm not. I dropped my lid. Recruiting. Football recruiting, it's a big week. It is a huge week. We're going to go over those list of names here in just a second. I've heard something called the hog hole. Oh, I'm not going to read the rest of that. My cousin directed the show Bones back in the day, just FYI. Oh, okay. That's cool. On FX, Fox. That was the show with the emo girl, right? She had a very, I think I remember that. That's cool. It's funny that Wiggins, one of our worst pitchers, got drafted. That's the other thing, too. You just never know, how these guys, how they analyze some of these players. You look at them on roster and what they did, and it's like, well, it wasn't exactly great, and then they get drafted in one of the first 7 or 8 rounds. It's just kind of wild. Are there any Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens in the portal this year? I really thought we had Paul Skeens. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. Look at the impact that you had with transfers just this season alone on your roster. How much energy was put into that recruiting versus some high school kid that you've been scouting for 2-3 years? And I'm not saying that you need to abandon high school kids at all. I'm not saying that. You need to recruit high school kids. Absolutely. Those kids need to be given every opportunity, especially if they're good enough, right? But at the same time, if you're running a baseball program based on, again, I'm not sitting here pretending like I know college baseball inside and out. I've had this conversation with some other people that know a hell of a lot more about the subject than I do, and they tend to agree that it seems like high school recruiting in all areas, football, college, and college football, college baseball, and college basketball, high school recruiting is filling more and more. I mean, it's just had. I mean, the portal has just had a crazy impact, and you never know what these kids are going to do. It seems to me it's just a waste. It seems to me it is just a waste just to not even get a chance with them, says Blue Kicks. And it is frustrating from a fan standpoint, but I'm sure the coaches knew this, right? I'm sure Dave Van Horn and his staff, they're probably talking to some of these people. They're talking to proxies like, hey, what do you think the odds are so-and-so is going to get drafted? And they probably start that process years in advance. Why wouldn't you offer these kids? Why would you not recruit them with the off chance of them coming to your school? We know that freshmen can have a huge impact on your program, but so can some of these guys out of the portal. Yo, I'm in a live. What's up, Montero? How you doing? You guys make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm out of line here. Am I out of line? Am I out of line? I don't think I am. Wiggins was supposed to be our ace, missed the whole year. What drugs are you on? What? Wait. Who said anything about... What am I reading? Hang on. Fishman said Wiggins was our worst pitcher. Oh, okay. I didn't see that. I was like, wait a minute. Who brought... I see it now. It's funny that Wiggins, one of our worst pitchers that got drafted. Right. Yeah. Yeah, he was out. Only the... Oh, God. Devo on a billboard in Jacksonville for a bank. Oh, is he really? I didn't know that. See, now he's rumored... I think Devo's rumored to have... He was for a while to have one of the biggest NIL deals, at least for basketball. Yeah, Wiggins was out. Sometimes you just read the comments and you get distracted. Yeah, they didn't have Wiggins. He's supposed to be an ace. It shouldn't be too shocking that he got pitched or that he got drafted pretty high. It was a blow. Back-to-back years, your potential ace out. Portal guys have had time to show their college potential. Even JUCO ball is very different from high school. Very true, Steven. I agree. As a resident of Jacksonville, I'm glad to report Devoville billboard is still up. I didn't know about that. That's cool. Well, that's good. I'm glad that they're taking advantage of the opportunity to get in on the bag, to get paid. The tornado that hit in April was extremely close to hitting his billboard. Ooh. Well, it's good that it didn't. Let's get in on some of this recruiting. Yeah, to say, though, Wiggins, I do wonder, when I look back, how big of an impact, obviously, that guy could have had and how much pressure that takes off Arkansas pitching to have that guy pitching on Friday nights. I mean, he's a potential ace. All the hype in the world. Arguably not the most hyped up pitcher Arkansas's had, but a guy that people were really excited about. And that is, again, it's back-to-back years where it's like, what if this guy doesn't get hurt? And it does feel like we're doing this for all three sports, by the way. It does. It feels this way for basketball, obviously with Brazil and Nick Smith. It felt this way with baseball, with back-to-back potential ace pitchers, Friday night pitchers. For football, it's been Catalan and all the injuries they suffered on defense over the years. KJ for a couple of games. All right. Caleb Cali was just drafted, it looks like. Caleb Cali was drafted. Okay. Big week for Arkansas recruiting, for Razorback football recruiting. I'll give you the names. I've kind of sorted these out a little bit different, and I'll give you their dates. Kendall Jackson, as far as I know, is still on for July 20th. Been told that situation, don't really know. Could be Florida. He could stay home. Arkansas's in the mix. Kentucky, Miami. Scott Fountain and Deke Adams are recruiting Kendall Jackson. This is one of those guys you would love. You'd feel like, because Florida's on this kid. Miami is on this kid. Kentucky is on this kid. They all want Kendall Jackson. Now, he is a 3-star, 6'4", 250 pounds. Looks, he pops if you watch his highlights, he looks like someone who could I don't know. 6'4", 250. He looks the part. He'd probably be someone that would come in, catch a red shirt, get a year or two of development. We'll see what could happen down the road. But Kendall Jackson does still announce on the 20th. So here in 9 days, we'll know what's going on with Kendall Jackson. I don't have a time on that, but this is one that to me feels like, this would be a great get. This would be another guy, you could talk about just adding that kind of depth. I've heard really good things about him. Ashton Hampton is going to, it looks like Saturday. No, wait a minute. I thought Ashton already, hang on. Did he not already commit somewhere? Let me search this. I swear I did the I swear I read, maybe I'm getting him mixed up with someone. He's the kid out of, I think he's rumored to be a lean towards, okay. He's still announcing, it looks like July 15th. Okay. 6'2", 190 pounds safety. Again, I'm gonna update Patreon on some of these guys. There's not been a ton of movement, but there's been some movement. But Ashton Hampton is July 15th, so that will be on Saturday for Ashton Hampton. Arkansas, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, according to 247, are the teams involved. He went on his Arkansas visit. It looks like June 24th. And he was on his official visit the weekend before that at Miami. Had heard for a while that Arkansas was I don't know that I've ever heard Arkansas's leading for Ashton or not, but this would be a good get. This is another 3-star, top 100 safety in the country, 6'2", 190. You love that size, man. You like those safeties that get into that 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds. Those are the kind of guys you feel like day one could come in and they're already kind of physically ready for that next level. Then it's all about learning to do things at a higher level, catching up to the speed of the game, being coachable, learning kind of, soaking it all in as a freshman. But I've heard really good things about Ashton. So he is July 15th. Now, you still have Brian Huff, who is supposed to announce tomorrow. I'm not going to lie to you. I've not had a good report on him in terms of him picking Arkansas. It looks like he's probably Mizzou bound. If anything happens, feels like it would have already happened. If there was any change, I would let, of course, Patreon supporters would know first in Patreon chat. But from what I understand, he's still a Mizzou lean, or he's at least not an Arkansas lean. The word has been on the street for a while now that Huff, really since going back to about early June, late May, that he was going to go to Mizzou. We're still waiting on Wyatt Simmons. This is a guy that I'm getting – more people are asking me about Wyatt Simmons than anyone. I've had 2 DMs over him just the last few days, and I thought, well – is there something out there that I don't know about? Why am I all of a sudden getting DMs about Wyatt Simmons? He's a, I think he's the number 2 linebacker in the state of Arkansas. Auburn is all over this kid. Clemson has, according to 247, an offer. I don't know. I don't know how legit the offer is. I don't know if it's an offer where if he were to go public that they would take it. I don't know. Florida State has an offer. I mean, his recruiting has kind of blown up in 2023 out of Searcy, Arkansas, 6'3", 215. They have him as the number 60 linebacker. 247 does, and they have him as the number 10 player in the state. Now, 247 Composite has him as the number 7 overall player in the state of Arkansas, but they have him at number 68 on their ranking, on position ranking. Now, there is LSU commit Xavier Atkins. This has been a very curious back and forth. I don't know that anyone really knows. Obviously, he's committed to LSU. There have been rumors for weeks, maybe even months, that Arkansas could flip Xavier Atkins. Now, I don't know. I don't know anyone who's really involved or has legit good information on him right now. Everyone I've talked to about this just says, yeah, Travis Williams trying really hard to flip him. That's all we have. Now, he's a 4-star composite, 89 overall 3-star. 247 Composite has him as a top 25 linebacker in the country, a top 50 player in the state of Texas. He's out of Humble, Texas, Summer Creek High, LSU, Arkansas, TCU, UCF, Utah are all on his at least on their offer list here. But everyone I've heard from says that Travis Williams is trying really hard to flip this kid. Now, Travis is noted, according to 247, as the lead recruiter, and we all know sometimes that's not entirely accurate. I'm sure there's others involved, but that makes sense that Travis would be his lead recruiter. He's a 91 overall 4-star, according to the 247 Composite. It's worth keeping an eye on him. I don't have a commitment announcement on him right now, but there's been word on this kid for weeks that Arkansas could potentially flip him. Now, we've been in this seat before where, they're going to flip him. They're going to flip him. And it doesn't happen, right? So we'll have to wait and see. This might be one, we'll see if he's still hanging on to LSU come December, right? And if he doesn't sign in December, then what? And then there's Tylen Singleton, another guy that I've been asked about. I don't think Arkansas. I thought wasn't he an A&M lock for a while? I forget. Tylen Singleton, I've kind of strayed away from a little bit. I haven't kept up. I've not asked around about him for a while. 6'1", 210-pound linebacker out of Minnie, Louisiana, part of the 2024 class. He is a top 10, top 20 linebacker. 247 has him as 15th overall. Both Composite and 247. Both the 247 recruiting ranking and the Composite have him as the top 5 player out of the state of Louisiana. We all know if you're a top 10, top 20 player out of Louisiana, you're probably legit. And they have him, again, as a top 5 player in that state. But Arkansas, A&M, LSU, TCU, Tennessee are all actively recruiting him. He's being recruited by Darren Wilson by Arkansas. So we'll see about I right now, I just wouldn't hold my breath on Singleton. But Xavier Atkins is one worth, again, keeping an eye on. He's currently an LSU commit. Wyatt Simmons, I don't have a date on him. 247 says that Brian Huff is still up for July 12th. And I haven't gotten that confirmed, but I think he's probably more likely to do so on that date. Now, here's where it gets juicy. Braylon Russell, Friday night, July 14th, 6:30 p.m., 6'2", 230, 4-star, down to Arkansas, South Carolina, and, of course, Tennessee. He did eliminate Baylor. He was the first commit of this class for Arkansas, and he decommitted, opened up his recruiting. It really sounds like it's down between Arkansas and Tennessee. I've been reporting on this for weeks now. At this moment, it could be a coin flip. But it sounds like it sounds to me like it's probably going to be Tennessee. So I don't know if he's doing an Instagram live announcement. I have no idea. I don't know what he's doing. If he's going to go live somewhere. If I were to stream his announcement, it would not be on the basis that I feel very comfortable that he's – to me, it does feel like 50-50 that Arkansas is involved. They have been – even once these rumors, came out that Tennessee was so heavily involved, I think you went on an official visit to South Carolina. Even with the other schools involved, Arkansas never backed off. From what I understand, the Hogs have been actively recruiting him. And it's because of that. Sometimes you start to hear, well, they're going after other players. It sounds like they've been in on Braylon Russell. Like they want to get Braylon Russell. Why wouldn't you? He's the number one running back in the state of Arkansas. So if I were to stream it, it would be just to stream it. It would just be to, I have no idea where he's going, but let's find out together. It'd be a bummer if he picked Tennessee, but I am thinking about if I have access, if we figure out who's streaming this, then maybe we'll stream it here, and I may not. I don't know. We may just talk about it in Discord. I don't know, but yeah, Braylon Russell, 4-star running back. Would be a wonderful get. I have not calculated what that would do for Arkansas in terms of their rankings, but it'd be a really nice get, obviously, for the Hogs. So find my right tab here. With that being said, you still have one more player, and we have talked about him in our Patreon for the last couple of days. That's Bridges. Selman Bridges. A big time corner defensive back. He's 6'4", according to some. Other places have him listed at 6'3". Big time player. Is supposed to announce on July 15th. Now, I don't have a time. I was trying to find that for you. I don't have a time on his commitment. Again, Patreon supporters already know. We've already kind of talked about it. Someone mentioned the crystal balls. He is a top 10 corner in the country. No matter whether it's 247 composite, or if it's just 247, he's the number 6 corner according to 247. Top 15 player in the state of Texas. Arkansas, TCU, Texas, USC, and Alabama all involved. This would be a huge get for Arkansas. Now, Saturday, I will say, odds are I would definitely stream his announcement. I'll just say that. I would stream it. I would. Mostly, I would. I'll just say that. I'll leave it at that. Temple, Texas is where he's out of, Lake Belton High School. What a get if Arkansas can land him by Darren Wilson and Marcus Woodson. And this is why you brought Woodson here. You want to completely rebuild that secondary. Well, you do it with hiring someone like Marcus Woodson. I am so hopeful that he proves it on the field this year, that secondary is, how you can't be worse than what you were last year in terms of yards given up. But they're laying a pretty nice foundation. If they can land Selman Bridges, they're already doing a good job. You look what they've done in the portal, and Arkansas seems to be trying to build it the right way, and it's pretty exciting. Don't know, again, if anyone asked me to stream his announcement on Saturday. I don't know that I'm actually available on Saturday. Like I said, we've got some projects going on around the house. My availability is going to be just crazy. Yeah, TCU, Texas, USC, and Alabama all involved in Bridges' recruitment. I can't say that. I love how hungry and fired up Coach Woodson seems to be. I've heard Singleton is between Tennessee and LSU. Yeah. Ty, with Enos here, is KJ more likely to advance to 3,000 passing yards or fall to 2,500? That's a good question. Because I do think they're going to throw the ball more. I do think they're going to throw the ball more, even though he's going to be pretty run heavy too, though, right? But I still think they're going to get some more opportunities. They're going to get more opportunities to air the ball out. God loves Devo. No tornado taking his billboard. Take bias out of the equation. Where would you go? Are you talking to me, Camo? And what are we talking here? If you guys have any questions or comments, fire away. I'm taking them. I don't know what you mean by take bias out of the equation. Where would you go, Camo? If you're talking to me and if you're talking football, it would depend on A, what position I'm playing, B, how soon do I get to play? Well, no, wait. A would be NIL opportunities. That would probably be A. I mean, be honest with yourselves. Wouldn't it be yours? If you were 17 years old, wouldn't you wonder what the NIL possibilities are? And unfortunately, you're not supposed to talk about that during your recruitment. That's not supposed to be something that you're allowed to. You're not supposed to discuss NIL. Right. Grant says Hampton is leaning Clemson. Yeah, I thought I had seen that. So we probably will be live. Either we're going to try and be live one more time this week. Now the Russell announcement. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but that's Friday night at 6:30. Benton running back. We'll pick between Arkansas. It sounds like it's between Arkansas and the Vols. I'm going to say this. At this point, I would lean towards Tennessee, but anything can happen. Camo says Tennessee or Arkansas. Well, it's hard. Tennessee's offense is, it's hard to not be excited about an offense like what Tennessee, what they've accomplished in that turnaround so quickly and how explosive that offense is. Like, I don't know, man, but how soon can I play? And if, let's say you're asking if I'm Braylon Russell, that's hard to do, but that's hard. Arkansas, of course, is probably going to pump out. We know that Rocket is regarded as one of the top backs in the nation, and he did that under Sam Pittman. He now the other conversation is how that offense before Kendall Browse's veer and shoot, how much that benefited Rocket and all the running backs and KJ's success of running the ball and how that's going to differ under Dan Enos. That's going to matter, right? The run play designs and how frequent am I going to be used? Is it a running back by committee kind of offense? Now, to be fair, Kendall did that. Kendall was it was a committee, right? It was 2-3 different running backs were going to touch the rock every single game, and then you had KJ thrown into the equation as well when you're running the football. Affordable power wash. NWA. Hearing lots of folks say KJ and Rocket would be Heisman candidates if it wasn't the logo on their chest. This sucks. Hope it pisses off the players. I agree with that. I really do. I think that is absolutely 100% the case. Yeah. If KJ Jefferson were at Alabama, if he were at LSU, Ohio State, even Florida, although, wins do matter too, right? 6 regular season wins certainly play an impact. 7 total wins from a year ago has an impact on your likelihood of being in the discussion. We have to say that because there is truth in that. Absolutely. But at the same time, let's not sit here and act like with all the pieces coming back for Arkansas on the offensive side of the ball, when you look at, you've got two good pieces on the offensive line, you certainly feel better about what's happening at tight end. Wide receiver is a question mark. Let's be real. I can sit here and tell you how much I loved watching these guys in spring camp. I can sit here and tell you that all day long. But what matters is whether or not they achieve that on the field. But if this were Alabama and KJ were operating in a similar offense with similar pieces around him under similar circumstances, he would be a Heisman, I don't know about front runner, but he would certainly be in the conversation somewhere. And the same with Rocket Sanders. There's no doubt in my mind. And because there is the benefit of the doubt, because it's Alabama. They win. If they only win 10 this year, they're going to riot, right? If they don't make the college football playoffs, they're going to riot. And the same could be said of Ohio State. Can't say that about Florida, but let's be real. Let's put them at Florida. Let's put these guys at Florida. And you have the kind of achievements that you had with KJ and what he's done and putting this team on his shoulders for the last couple of years. What about Rocket Sanders being the second leading rusher in the SEC while carrying the ball, I don't know how many times less than Judkins, but I think it was something like 15, 20 times less, which isn't a huge number, but still it matters. Let's not sit here and act like these two guys wouldn't be on, at least in the conversation. And they're really not right now. They're really not. If you're hearing anybody bring up KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders right now, it's they might be dark horse contenders, but they're going to have to put it together on the field. They're going to have to prove it. And that's the difference, and that's the uphill climb that you're always going to have at Arkansas. The fact that you even had a two-time runner-up here is amazing, considering the media bias against Arkansas. There is one. And it's one that it's not even the media's fault. Like, has Arkansas consistently shown you that they're capable of producing, first, second, third round draft picks every year? They can get 5, 6 guys drafted a year. They can get 2, maybe 3 All-Americans every year. They're going to win 9, 10 games a year. Have they shown that ever since being in the SEC? No. Yeah, they won 20 games in Petrino in 2010 and 2011. Granted. And I thought a lot of guys got overlooked then. I thought a lot of guys, when you talk about preseason accolades, got overlooked then. And they proved it on the field that, hey, you overlooked us because you're using a pass bias against this program. And that is the absolute truth. The media, I don't think they really look at things in terms of, like Arkansas is still Arkansas, right? But the prior 30 years, or however long, how long have they been in the SEC now? Since 92. So you've been in the SEC for quite some time. I think the bias comes in where they always think of Arkansas as that team from the last 30 years, at least wildly inconsistent. You had some good years under Houston. I mean, his last 2 years here, you won 18 games. I think Houston Nutt certainly proved that he could put together a good product on the field. Until what was that? 04, 05. You're really, really bad. But I think, there's this kind of past historical bias against some teams. It's just, it exists. And I understand that. That's why we look at some teams now and we go, that's why, maybe for me, that's the way I feel when I think about Oklahoma State. Like, they've been successful lately, but I can't, there's something about what they were before, before Mullet Man took over. Or even before him, Les Miles. There's still that kind of bias in the back of your head, like, it's Oklahoma State, though. Yeah, but they've been more successful than Arkansas. Why do we do that, right? And look at them. Maybe they should have produced a Heisman. Maybe had some of those players that were really successful at Oklahoma State, had they been in Alabama or Florida, probably would have been Heisman contenders. Bridge Nasty says, and Rocket probably should have led SEC in touchdowns if KB would have gave him the ball in the red zone and goal line. Yeah, and some of that, we had this debate last year about whether or not that was Kendall Briles directing KJ to hold on to the ball. I mean, the way the RPO is supposed to function, it's supposed to be based off the quarterback's initial read post-snap, right? Like, as soon as the ball snapped and you're leading the running back and you're watching what what this defender over here is doing, if that defender's leading onto the ball, you're supposed to react. Either you keep it, you give it, or you throw it, right? And some of that, now I always wondered, is when you go back in 2021, it seemed like every first down was always scripted. It felt that way. That may not have been the case. I don't know if that's even a thing where you script out your first down play no matter where you're at on the field. But it always felt like KJ kept the ball or they were just going to run the ball. So the same thing can be said of KJ's decision to run or to give. Like, how much of that was instructed by Kendall or Sam even? How involved was Sam Pittman with that offense? I don't know that he really was. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. We know he's got veto power, and he's kind of talked about that a little bit. But, Ty, is there any rules against current players talking to recruits about the current players' NIL amounts? I have no idea. I'm sure that's a good question. I'm sure there's some kind of bylaw or some kind of rule where you're not supposed to discuss that. I don't know. How do you stop that? How do you stop that from happening with these kids? I mean, that's a good question, Steven. I'm not really sure. Yeah, the Heisman conversation is an interesting one. I appreciate the question. Affordable Power Wash, NWA. Appreciate the question. If you're still in chat, shout out to you. Free advertising right here, buddy. I got you. Affordable Power Wash. Power Wash. I don't know why that's such a tongue twister for me. Affordable Power Wash, Northwest Arkansas. Give them a call today. I don't have any other information. I have nothing to go off of. You'll have to give me one for a free shout out. That's a good question though, Steven. I don't know, man. I mean, when you think about it, that turns them into proxies. That's essentially what a proxy is. A proxy is just some guy, the university, the schools, not Arkansas, but any school, and that's typically how this is done. That's how business is done. They're not supposed to be affiliated. Typically, they're not affiliated with the university. And then there's some contact made in between the schools and in between the players. That's what a proxy essentially is. Give me a read. Affordable power wash, NWA. Give me a read. Type something out. I want to do it. I'll give you free. I'll give you an episode for free. I got you. You're more than welcome to post your number. Whatever. I give you permission. Unfortunately, you can't post a link. That you got to pay for. I'm just kidding. No, YouTube just won't let you do it. I think I have settings that doesn't allow it. Because you never know what kind of links get posted in here, right? Another devil's advocate. What if a recruit DMs a current player on his own accord and ask about the NIL? That could get dicey in arbitration. Yeah, well, that I think is against the rule, right? If a recruit DMs a current player on his own accord, yeah, right. But it still falls on the player. I'm sure there's a rule against that. Like you cannot. That'd be like me. Well, like, what if I ask about an NIL, what if I'm curious, hey, give me your NIL information. Like, how much are you making, right? I'm sure they can't tell anybody. They're not supposed to discuss it. My bad if you've talked about it. Saw he was listed as an athlete. Hang on. Yeah, Akari. Okay, so Akari was offered. He's a kid out of Texarkana. Hang on. Pull it up. He's a kid out of Texarkana. I need a refresher. Some of these kids you kind of forget about. I think Arkansas offered him to play wideout. Did they not? That's someone, again, sometimes once they commit, I move on. I don't talk to anybody about that player. I seem to remember him being offered to play wide receiver here, but then again, he's recruited by Marcus Woodson, so he might be a guy in the secondary. He's recruited by Darren Wilson and Marcus Woodson, so he's probably, if he's getting recruited, I'll say this, if you look at a kid on their 247 profile, and you've got a secondary coach or the defensive staff, unless Fountain. Now, Fountain, I think, gets involved on both sides of the ball. That's really why he's here. Let's be real. He's certainly not here to coach special teams. But if you see the secondary or defensive staff is recruiting that kid, that's more than likely it's either a territory, because some of these coaches get territories, or it's his position coach, or it's his future coordinator or whatever. So if he is an athlete. I do remember him. It's starting to come to my it's starting to come to me a little bit. Yeah, certain schools did offer him to play wide receiver. I want to say Arkansas actually did offer him to play corner. Guys, I got to get Otis Kirk back on here. I haven't talked to Otis in a minute. We need to get him on here and get a refresher. Pretty sure, if I remember right, he was actually recruited to play corner, and it's starting to come back to me a little bit. But, yeah, Marcus Woodson and Darren Wilson are recruiting him, according to 247. I seem to remember having this conversation with someone way back when he committed, which was – it wasn't that long ago. It was June, right? Wasn't it like first week of June? June 14th. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mid-June. And I remember TCU was definitely in the mix. I think this came down to TCU, Oklahoma State, and Arkansas. Good pickup. Maybe it was Oklahoma State that had offered him to play wide receiver. At least that's what I had heard. I didn't do a lot of deep dive on him. He's national top 800 player, according to 247 Composite. He's top 80 athlete. So did he get a bump? I don't remember him being a top 80 athlete. I'm telling you guys, there's this thing that happens, especially when you're like ADD. You move on to the next, and I haven't revisited Johnson in a while. But yeah, so I'm assuming, and I seem to remember this being a conversation. He was offered, and he's more than likely has been offered to play in the secondary for Arkansas, but had been offered by some Big 12 schools to play on the offensive side of the ball. So again, you may have to someone may have to remind me or refresh my memory. Thanks for the shout out, longtime listener. Actually switched to my business account. Happy mistake. Oh, okay. Well, hey, whatever. I got you. I do believe with an award as subjective as the Heisman, players on teams like Arkansas certainly get overlooked. Yeah, they do. Again, it's historical bias, because really, let's be honest, or it may even just be, it is a popularity contest. That's really, at the end of the day, what it is. Arkansas is not a popular football program. Now, basketball, look what happens with basketball. They catch a little bit of heat the last several years, and now that's all everyone talks about. That's all you read about. It's something about Musselman, or it's something about his players. You've got these major analysts all across Twitter that are talking about their players. And Musselman certainly is the reason for that. There's no doubt. But Arkansas gets a little bit of they look like their old selves, where like the program and the fans have a high standard now. It's back. There's a standard of, if we don't at least make the Sweet 16, we're not thrilled. We're not happy. Fans aren't really happy if you don't at least make the Sweet 16, because let's be real, they made the Sweet 16 3 years in a row. Even though they were eliminated in the Sweet 16, they weren't able to advance to the Elite Eight. Fans were still not super. I'm not saying they were happy, but let's say you don't get out of the first round, or you don't get out of the second round of the NCAA tournament, right? That's the standard of Arkansas basketball. It's back. That standard's for football. We're going to be thrilled if Arkansas can somehow recapture 8 wins. Hawk fans, I think, will mostly be happy with 8 wins. That's where they're at. And if you remember, it's one of the reasons why they fired Houston Nutt. Fans were tired of winning, 7, 8 games a year. And 8 is definitely it's a pretty big gap. 8 to 7 is a big gap. 7 wins a year is a very vanilla program. 8 wins a year, it feels like you're almost there. And that was the thing. We felt like, Hog fans felt like they were almost there. They won 18 games those last 2 years, all the Gus Malzahn drama, the Springdale 5, all this stuff. Frank Broyles had enough. In comes the new Jeff Long. He brings Bobby Petrino, and then what happens? Not that much longer later, you're now winning back-to-back 10 wins. No doubt in my mind, had Petrino been there, I swear by this. In 2012, had Petrino been there, Arkansas wins 10 games. I will not fold on that. I think that is a team that wins 10 games. You know, you would have been one of the few teams in the SEC that could do that, to win double-digit games 3 years in a row. But the standard has dropped since then. It's dropped immensely. Now you're just thrilled. I mean, let's be real. Let's be honest. 2020, you played 10 games, all SEC games. Fans were not super pumped, but saw the writing on the wall with just 3 SEC wins. Going 3-7. Fans saw it. Fans saw it. And there was a little bit of hype in the air going into 2021. And you win 8 regular season games. You beat Penn State. Feels good beating a Big Ten team. Especially a program I used to immensely respect. Not so much the last decade or so. But that's the difference, right? 8 wins is a natty this upcoming season, says Cam. Okay. I'm not going that far. I don't think it's a natty necessarily, but I see what you're saying. I get it. I agree, Ty. Even if we went undefeated in football, ESPN media would find a way to diminish it. Well, and then the question is, can they do it consistently, right? If Arkansas was good enough to win 10, could they do it in 2024? Could they do it again? How far have we fallen? 8 wins is a great year. I will say this. The rebuild at Arkansas, you fired Chad Morris in one of the most you could see the difference, and I actually went to the Little Rock game. I actually ran into a number of you guys at the Mizzou game down in Little Rock. Went with a good friend of mine, Tim. Had a blast. It was good seeing Hog fans. First game I'd been to in a while. It was really cool. But you could see a difference in the product on the field. Think about Bielema's last season. Maybe even his last 2 years, even though the year before his last season they won enough games and they got to go to a bowl game. But think about the last 2 years of Sam Pittman and then the year and a half of Chad Morris. You could just see it. I know I could. That damn something just, and it's not just because the other teams are scoring more points. Let's not forget there were a couple of games in the Morris era that were like, oh, shit, they can actually score points. Okay, not bad. Can Chief coach a good defense? No, he could not. He was done. He's tapped out. He can't keep up in this era of college football. That much was pretty obvious before he took the job at Arkansas. We just didn't see the writing on the wall. But then you bring in Barry Lunny for a short amount of games, and you could tell this team was better under Lunny, who had never been a head coach. He's been a quarterback coach at a couple of places, tight end coach here. You could see the team was just better when you took Chad Morris out of the equation. And then you fast forward to Pittman's first year, and I've talked about this so many times, you could see it. The product on the field, and I remember talking about it here, the product on the field is so much better. It is so much better compared to where it was at just a year ago. And that's what Sam has done. He has built a wonderful foundation. We're sitting here complaining about, man, we only won 7 games last year. Okay, think about where you were at, and I hate doing that because you guys know you're not dumb. You're smart. You're here, first off. You're watching this, so you have a higher IQ than most, at least in terms of college football, college athletics. We're just going to all pretend like we're all smart here. But I don't have to drill that into your head. And I think most people are appreciative. Sometimes we just forget, if you win 8 this year, that at least shows that not only can you make 3 straight bowl games again, which was a big question towards the end of the Bielema era, which was obviously a question in the Chad Moore, the very short short-lived Chad Morris era. Shows that you can go to 3 straight bowls, and not only that, shows that you could win 8 games with a pretty tough schedule, playing in the SEC. It shows that you do belong here, I think, is what 8 wins does. But you could just see, the steps that have been taken, and that includes Barry Lunny. When Barry Lunny coached, you could see the steps taken, how much better you were becoming. And Sam has now built that foundation. You got to give a lot of credit to Barry Lunny Jr. Barry Lunny kind of held the pieces together. I mean, anything was possible when all that was going down. Just a mass exodus of players, forget this, I'm not finishing out the year. Barry Lunny held the pieces together and actually put a somewhat respectable, in a short amount of time too, a somewhat respectable product on the field. Imagine had he had an entire offseason. I'm not saying he's the guy that should have replaced Chad Morris. I'm not implying that at all. But at least it does show there's a possibility when he's done in Illinois, maybe he is going to be a head coach down the road. I'm rooting for him. I remember when Petrino was here, fans felt that our average should be around 10 wins, somewhere between 8 and 12 wins per season. Yeah. Not pretending, Ty. You're the Razorback best, my guy. I appreciate that, Fish. I should have caught when you said Wiggins earlier that the wheels should have been spinning, but they weren't. But yeah, Wiggins did not pitch this year. But I do appreciate the kind words. And hopefully that doesn't happen 3 years straight where you get those kind of injuries that have that kind of an impact. So, man, we're at hour 7. Wow, that flew by. Okay. Man, I was thinking we were just coming up on maybe 45 minutes. I wasn't watching my timer. I appreciate all the questions and comments. Shout out to Patreon supporters. Shout out to our legendary status members. You know who you are. Timothy Wisent, Thomas Nunley, and, of course, Will Watkins. Shout out to those guys, the legendary status members. If you want to become a legendary status member, it's $20. Apparently, you can edit your amount. Someone had DM'd me saying that they were stuck at the $20 amount. They wanted to give more to the Patreon, which I greatly appreciate. But we thought you were locked in at 20. Apparently, there's a way you're not stuck at the 20, and I guess that goes for all the other tiers as well. I don't know. But all the tiers, I appreciate all you guys. But that is another perk of being a status or legendary status members. You get the name shout out. So Thomas Nunley, Timothy Wisent, Will Watkins. I appreciate you guys. Going from Bielema's off-road vehicle team to Chode Moore. The resentment you guys have for Chad. I mean, he's taking every advantage he can here. Chode Morass wanted a supercar as a roster. That is a full roster rebuild and crippled our program. It did. You're not wrong. There's so many problems, so many things I've heard during the Morris years that were just – and it's crazy to think. He did have some level of success at SMU when he won, what was it, 7? Was it 7 wins? Was that his second year at SMU when he won 7? Or his last year? I don't remember. The thing about an 8-win team is that they can easily be that 10-win team that gets you a New York Six bowl, or they could be a 7-5 team. 8 wins is a good place to be in the SEC. Yeah, we don't want to overlook 8 wins, but I also understand fans when you're knocking on the door for as long as you were. Especially when Houston was here. When you're knocking on the door, you feel like, well, we're good enough. If we can win 8, then we should be good enough to win 10. And sometimes that's just not the case. But, it is tough. It's tough in the SEC, man. Even Nick Starkle made fun of Chad on Instagram today. Did he really today? I feel like he's kind of dunked on Chad a couple of times on social media. What home game brings in the most fans this season? We only have 3 SEC home games and BYU, the only formidable non-con. Well, I think my guess would probably be, well, that's a good question because you got Mississippi State. It'd probably be Auburn, right? It'd have to be Auburn. Isn't that crazy to think? I don't mean to go on a schedule rant. You guys have heard me go on several of these schedule rants, but is it not crazy you don't play an SEC game in Fayetteville until October 21st? Is that not nuts to you? This is a shit schedule. It's a shit schedule, no matter which way you want to stretch it. And I love, look, BYU coming to Fayetteville, that's the way it should be. BYU, you had no business, and I'm going to stand by that. You had no business going to Utah to play those guys. I don't care that they're ranked or whatever, that, they've been more relevant than Arkansas. I don't care. I don't care. You have no business going there. I don't mind them coming here. That's part of the deal. But Western Carolina, you're going to kick things off in Little Rock. And you get Kent State, which I don't know how many people that's going to draw, especially if you show any signs of struggle to Western Carolina. That's going to have an impact on the amount of people. And, of course, the weather and things like that. But September 9th, things should start to cool down by mid-September. Fortunately, you do have back-to-back games in Fayetteville early on. You do have Kent State. BYU will draw a little bit, depending on where they're at, if they're off to at least a halfway decent start. But then you're on the road against LSU. You're in Arlington. You're in Oxford. You're in Tuscaloosa. And then finally you get an SEC game towards the end of October. Is that not absurd? That is so stupid. The end of October. Not even just one like shitty, like Vanderbilt, to start things off in early or mid-September. No. Towards the end, it's the last game in October that you play. It's Mississippi State, who knows what they're going to look like. And again, the good news, I do like the month of November. I like that. You get to go to Gainesville. If you can get that dub, then you're going to bring back with you. If you're good enough to go down to Gainesville and win, now I don't think I'm on record as saying I don't think Florida is going to be very good. I'm not buying that they're not going to make a bowl game this year. I think they're probably going to be a bowl team, maybe. I think they're going to be a 6 or 7 win team. Arkansas's never won in Gainesville, never. So maybe that'll get the juices flowing a little bit, and then you come back to play Auburn. We don't know how good Auburn's going to be. They're kind of one of my question mark teams. And then you have FIU in Fayetteville. So you wrap up the last 3 games in Fayetteville, 2 of which are SEC, which is okay. All right, I'll take that. But the fact that you don't play an SEC game in Fayetteville until October 21st is absurd. And maybe Arkansas is not the only team to be in that boat. I don't know. I'm sure I'm not. I know there's been other years, but it just feels like that's just crazy to me, especially when you're already kicking things off down in Little Rock to start the season off. You get, let's be real, Kent State and BYU is not a massive draw unless BYU were to be ranked highly or something. And then you have the gauntlet, LSU. I do think A&M. I'm going to tell you guys, I think A&M is going to be better this year. How much better, I don't know. At Ole Miss, at Bama, that's a gauntlet. That's pretty tough, man. Ole Miss is – people are starting to buy in on the Lane Kiffin stuff again this year like they do every year. But yeah. I have a love-hate relationship, but only because November could rock. November could be an awesome month in terms of, you've got Florida, Auburn, you've got your revenge game against Mizzou. Listen, and I don't want people to think that I don't look forward to playing Mizzou, even though I've been very vocal about dismissing that as a rivalry game, because it's not. It is absolutely it's not a natural, organic rivalry. Okay, it's not, but it is certainly manufactured. But I do look forward to that game. There's something about Drinkowitz. Yeah, I do look forward to it. I hope you beat the living shit out of them on November 24th. A revenge game, but it's not a rivalry. It's not. There are things that make it there are just some teams you like to beat. There's some teams you like to beat. That doesn't make it a rivalry. FIU, whatever, I have a love-hate relationship only because it takes you so long to get an SEC team in Fayetteville. It's just absurd. Or even Little Rock for that matter. Like, no, you're not getting an SEC team until towards the end of October. It's just absurd. All right. So many Power 5 coaches would give their arms to win to win 8 a year. Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, that is it. Special again. Shout out to Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, and the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzaria located on Emma Street here in Springdale. Their links are all provided for you down below. Patreon supporters, listen, you guys are the reason why I'm able to make this move to begin with, going to the garage, creating a studio. I mean, we're turning that thing. The goal is to turn that thing into a studio space. It may not be a whole studio room, but it's going to be a studio space. I'm looking forward to that. Been trying to do this now for like 2 years. It's finally happening, and you guys are playing a really big role in that, as are the sponsors. I'm going to try and get you guys some footage again as the weeks go by. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Make sure before on your way out, hit the like button, show a little bit of support for this small independent YouTube channel that covers your Razorbacks. I would greatly appreciate that. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Check out all the links provided for you down below. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, that link is also provided for you down below. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys probably later on in the week. Again, I don't know if I'm going to stream Russell's announcement, which is coming up soon. I'll try to keep you guys I'll try to definitely let Discord know what's going on there. But I don't know. I don't have any information on whether or not he's streaming his announcement. So, hell, we may do a reaction. If he picks the Hogs, I'm going to try my best to try and make a reaction because I think that would be big. One last thing before we go. I will say the odds, and I was going to mention this earlier, and I actually had a brief little note here that I had written off down below on the bottom of this page. There is a possibility here, and I'm going back to these commitments. You're going to lose your in-state, your number one quarterback who's committed to Auburn, your number one running back, Braylon Russell, possibly to Tennessee. And according to 247 Composite, your number one linebacker. So there is a legitimate possibility here that you're going to lose your number one quarterback, number one running back, and number one linebacker, all of which, according to 247 Composite, are 4 stars. That is certainly up in the air, and we're going to discuss that more if it happens, if Braylon Russell and Huff do, in fact, go out of state. So something to think about, and we'll get updated and everything later on, okay? I'm going to try and get you guys some more edited content. Those views are shit, but I really don't care. They're stressful to make because it takes me an hour. It takes me 2 hours to make an edited video, but I really do enjoy making them, so I'm going to try to get you guys some more content. If there's not another live, one way or another, there's going to be more content this week. Okay. I'll see you guys around. Woo pig.